Yeah, what's poppin', guys? Sizzle here, and as of yesterday, they just added in perks to Overwatch, among other things, like this nice, cool new UI. I really am a big fan of most of the UI changes. Outside the career profile, I think this looks really bad. The way that on the right side it's all filled in, the left side it's not. It looks like you have a light and a dark mode on at the same time. It just ends up looking really, really bad in my opinion. But either way, overall, this video is here to give my thoughts on the perk system in particular. But before I get into that, I just want to mention I think the addition of loot boxes is pretty cool. It's nice to get free cosmetics again. I got this really cool hog skin here, which I've wanted for a while. It was $20 before. I was not paying $20 for it. Got it for free the day that this update dropped. But yeah, thoughts on the perk system is that overall, it is shockingly good. Right. The last year or two of Overwatch, I will say the devs have been doing an awful job for the most part of putting in any updates to this game. Their Torb is the one where you can heal as Ryan. That's pretty funny. But for the last year or two, the Blizzard devs have been doing an awful job of actually, balancing things, updating things, doing anything to add or change anything about the game. It's been awful. It really just has not been good. But the sorry, I was a bit distracted. I had to lock in a bit. Just joined the game midway. Kind of forgot that backfill exists. But you can see right there, just selected a perk. Let me actually give my thoughts on them though before I completely forget. My thoughts are that generally shockingly good implementation. For the most part, they're implemented exactly how they should be if you were going to do a system like this, which is just great to see, honestly, after so many years of the devs not cooking in the slightest. They finally actually added something in the game without it feeling overtuned, overdone. Like, the perk system is mostly exactly where it should be, in my opinion. A lot of it is really nice minor buffs to characters that don't drastically change the balance of the game, which is how the perk system needs to be, right? It's a minor system to slightly disincentivize counterpicking, and it's done a pretty good job of that so far. Like, people have really not been counterpicking, and you can see on the title screen, I played enough games to get most of the loot boxes and rewards for this. I've played a bit of this game already, and it feels pretty cool. It feels pretty new, feels pretty fresh. Obviously, every update to Overwatch feels pretty cool. But this one definitely, there's still some problems with it though, and I'd like to address those. The problems that this system has is that there still are perks that feel a little strong in this, to be honest with you. The main culprits that come to mind for that type of stuff is Ana and Torbjorn are the big two in my opinion, in terms of being too strong and doing too much. I think every other character, for the most part, I'm sure there's some I maybe haven't fought against or maybe not aware of that are also really strong. But Ana and Torbjorn are particularly strong enough where the perks make a major impact, and that is a problem. That's something they really need to address. On the whole, the rest of it's pretty cool. Right, most people counterpick just because there was no downside to doing it. And it gave them free value. Wasn't really that hard to do, right? You just have to swap hero, and you would instantly start winning more. Now, there's a minor downside, right? You lose out on your perk temporarily. You get it back much quicker, by the way. Once everyone already has perks, it only takes a fight or two. Perks currently, the way they work, is it takes like 3-4 fights. I don't know exactly what metric they use, but it takes 3-4 fights to get a perk. And it takes like 3-4 to get the second perk. Right, when you press F1, you can see both. There's a level 2 and a level 3 perk, and that's all you get. And then when you swap after that, I guess I can just show it off. I'll just mirror the Ryan. You can see I start from 0, start from nothing, but it only takes like a fight per perk now, where after 2 fights, I'll be back up to stuff. That means for 2 fights, because I'm trying to counterpick, I'm disadvantaged. Can't believe that Torb is alive, bro. What? Yeah, on the whole, it is a really neat system. You can see I already have one back. It's been 1 fight. By the end of this fight, even, I might already have it back. To be fair, I got crazy ult charge. I'm up to 80% already. Just swap. But they really need to tone down the broken perks. The minor perks are cool. They're a nice incentive to stop counterpicking. They're a nice little like flavor to the game. Right, the Sigma one where when after 5 hits you can punch someone to like do a little temporary knockback stun thingy. Honestly, it's a pretty cool thing. It's not super overwhelming, overbearing, but it's enough where, like, if you swap off Sigma and swap back to him later and you don't have that, it's still a downside. It's still definitely worth being aware of. And they need to take out the perks that don't feel that way, right? The Ana perks are insane. She has one perk where she gets a second anti-nade that comes down like 3 seconds later, which basically just beats cleanse for you, or requires you to wait like 2 seconds before cleansing, which is insane. That's really, really strong. And then she has a second perk that she gets on top of that, where when she nanos someone, she nanos herself. I don't know who thought that was remotely balanced. I'm assuming what they did is they just ripped this all from the PvE mode we were supposed to get, and just turned it into the perk system, which is a pretty good use of resources, I'm not gonna lie. It's just honestly a really fun time, pretty well done, pretty good stuff there. Damn. Can't believe that worked out the way it did. But having strong perks is a problem because it makes the system actually matter. But the thing I was concerned about when they were adding the perk system in this game is that perks would feel overwhelming, and you'd have to be aware of all of them, right? A lot of the really minor perks, like the perks Ryan has, where he gets overhealth if he pins someone or whatever, they're, like, impactful for sure, but if you're not aware of them, if you don't know they exist, your game plan against Ryan is virtually identical. Look at this shit, bro. Nano to Ryan and Nano to Ana. The Ana guaranteed lives, gets to one-shot me. The Nano to Ryan is nanoed, and is of course gonna destroy me. It's excessive. Like, Ana's got 2 really overpowered perks. Torb is really 2 overpowered perks. He gets one that fully reloads his weapon when he presses E. Another one that makes his turret level 3 when he presses E. Both of which are insane to just have, like, with no real drawback. So they definitely need to figure out how to tone that stuff down. Perks should not feel overwhelming. If I notice that there's a perk in effect, and it's, like, drastically affecting my game, and it's not like, oh, this one fight, this one interaction change, that's a problem, right? That's the thing that they have to address to actually make this good. But most of the perks are already in that state at the moment. That was actually really cool shit. I can't even be mad about that one. But that's the problem with the current system. I think anyone that's, like, really complaining about it, that's their big complaints. Because to be fair, Ana's perks, Torb's perks are excessive, bro. After exploding, do a second biotic grenade and explode again for 50 more damage and healing, and it doesn't say this, but also anti-heal. And then using Nano Casson on it, I mean, they're just excessively overpowered, right? That is a different character when you add those in. Versus something like Ryan, I mean, look, this helps him, right? These perks help him, but nothing here drastically changes the character. If anything, I'd actually say the shield bash is probably a detriment. I think it makes the character worse. I don't know why you'd ever pick that. But the one on Sigmas are kind of strong, but they're about where I think perks should be. Where there's an impact, it definitely helps them. I've definitely gotten a kill or 2 extra whenever I get to, like, punch people and do the knockback thing to them. Having a second rock on this, they definitely have to tune that down. You get a second rock way too quick. I mean, I guess I can show that off in the practice range. But once they tone down the few perks that are over the top, which is very few, it feels like. I feel like most characters feel pretty fair for the most part. I mean, Sigma's close, right? They just have to turn down his left shift a little, because at the moment it's a little excessive in just how much your cooldown gets reduced. Right? If we can turn on, like, the rocket bots, which is realistically how much you can absorb, and then I do this, and I press left shift in front of the rocket, you see from 8 seconds, I don't have the perk. You actually need the perks for the perks to activate, shockingly enough, so let me go grab one of those so I can show that off. But I think if they tune down all the perks and they make them all feel, I don't know, like Reinhardt's pretty much, where they're definitely nice to have, but not like, you know, be-all end-all perks where if you don't have them, it feels like you're playing a different character. I think the system actually, the rest of it already flows so well, flows so naturally. You can see we go from 9 seconds to 2 seconds. I literally just get a free rock every time I do that. That's a problem. That's overtuned. I could understand maybe 3 seconds, 4 seconds max, right? So if we go from 9 seconds to 6 seconds, that's a good enough minor perk where it disincentivizes you from swapping off Sigma, but it's not like a night and day, because this is basically Sigma gets a second rock. This other one's really cool, though. When you hit 5 directs, you can see I have that little melee thing, and I can melee someone to kind of like stun them in place for a second. And actually get like a kind of a free follow-up shot for someone playing way too close to me. right? But it's only every 5 shots, and then it goes away, and it's a very short time frame, right? I can't follow up with the second 2 shots. At that point, they can already move. And I have to quick melee them for it to work. So if you're not directly in my melee range, or if you're like a Ryan and you're playing your distance with the hammer, which you already kind of should be anyway, it won't be easy for me to hit that on you. It feels good. It feels right. A lot of the perks that I've seen definitely actually feel that way when they're properly implemented in-game. Part of it could be, though, that a lot of the characters with the more busted stuff, like, I actually think Orissa's perks are a bit excessive. But she's really bad at the moment, so no one really cares or notices. But, like, you do this primary refund one, and then the javelin one, and you can just go like this, and then shoot infinitely. And, like, I only have to use my other abilities here as long as I'm hitting heads, and then I can use, like, the heat sink thing. Then I can spin, I can charge another javelin. Like, she seems a bit excessive, the Sigma one seems to be excessive. There's definitely, like, a notable amount of perks that feel a bit excessive, but none of them to the same degree as Torb and Ana. I think they completely overdid it. I mean, just the raw damage output alone makes this stuff excessive. If we go press Alt here and we do the bouncing grenade one and the nano thing, right? Let me just show you. This is up against like a Kree with normal health. Or let's just do a soldier because he's got the standard health, right? I just like nade over here. Okay, that doesn't bounce how I remember it. I saw it bounce straight up sometime, but maybe that was the way the Ana used or whatever. But if I'm like right next to the guy and I shoot directly down, or if he's by a wall or something like that, and I just do like this, you can see that's half his health bar and a second anti, and then 2 shots kills him. That's excessive for Ana to just have on an ability that's super easy to hit. Or if Kiriko cleansed the first one and he did like this, I mean, look how high that goes. That gets you like another 2 to 3 seconds, and then reapplies the anti, restops everything. That's excessive. And then if you combine that with her ult, nanoing herself, so if I go like nano that guy over there, if he was alive, if I nano this guy over here, and then I use this same nade thing, like, that's crazy. Ana shouldn't have access to that. It genuinely feels like I'm playing a gigabuff different version of the character. If the perks can stop doing that, a lot of the other perks, like the Rhine ones, feel super at home, super in place. And if the devs can tone that down, and only in the last month or 2 have I really thought that the devs actually might do that. If the devs do that, it's a great system. If the devs leave these perks untouched, or make them more broken or whatever, then it's a problem, right? My initial concern with perks is that they'd feel too overwhelming, and there'd be too many interactions, too many things to know about for anyone to reasonably know everything about a character, every like little interaction you could have. But if most of the perks are minor and don't really impact things, then there's like a little fun fact more than an actual, major impact. Then it's a pretty good thing. Hero bands will further help with counterpick issues. And overall, the game seems to be going the right way, but they really do have to, tune down the stuff that is clearly overtuned. I mean, the Ana, like I said, Ana and Torb are really the outliers for me. There's a lot of other characters with really strong stuff, like I mentioned Sigma just a second ago, but comparing like Sigma to, let's see, this thing and this thing, right? I can put down this turret, and then once it's up, I just press E, and without me shooting a single time, I mean, that's without me shooting, right? Torb generally shoots. The turret literally, like, one-tapped them. And then my E's almost back up off cooldown without me doing anything. But I can, like, shoot a bunch, and then, let's just even right-click a bunch. I shoot a tank here. Then I press E. Now my turret kills those 2 robots in the back, and I can just shoot the shoot the soldier there. And that's excessive for 1 DPS here to be able to do all that while having 400 health, while having increased rate of fire. I don't really know why they thought Torb and Ana were okay. They're excessive and really need to be toned down. But on the whole, I'm pleasantly surprised by how fluid the system feels, right? It doesn't feel super out of place. It feels like it almost should have been here all along. It's very, very natural. But they really got to tone down the strong perks to actually make it feel good. But if they do that, dude, the system is great. People actually don't counterpick super often anymore. They do it when it's necessary, which is how the game has always been. Right? If they have a fair and you're on Junkrat, you have to go McCree. That's just how the world works. Well, you have to go like McCree, whatever, Ash, but for me it's McCree. Yeah, that's all there is to say. Let me know what you guys think about the perk system. Comments below if you find it as exciting and possibly good as I do. I really came into this update expecting to be like, damn, this changes the game too drastically. I hate it. I can finally uninstall this game. But unfortunately for me, I mean, it feels pretty good on the most part. Maybe this is just like the early honeymoon type shit, where anyway, even back when they added 5v5, it felt pretty okay for the first little bit. Right, whenever they added the Season 9 changes, they felt alright for a millisecond. But even with 5v5 and the Season 9 health pool changes, they felt pretty awful instantly. It's just, you know, the newness of it made it pretty fun. Right, I could recognize what the issue should be. In the same way that here, I realize if they don't tone down a lot of these perks, this system will be a problem as well. But if they do, good potential, I feel. With that being said, I hope y'all enjoyed, and I'll see you in the next one. Have a great rest of your day. Goodbye.